This is my main man, Josh The Keymaker, right here. We've known each other for quite some time. I'm Atomm Sol, and we just kind of have a little convo, brother, about essentially where we met, where we were in our lives, and where we are now. Essentially, basically, I think the theme of what we had looked at is the mainstream and the new world. So whether you want to call it spirituality or you want to just call it just being awake, aware, without judgment and discernment and naming. I came from a background of natural medicine and just wanting to kind of figure out how to live healthier and be able to play harder. Like that's my goal in life, is just like ultimately play. And it's hard to have a high level of play without a good amount of health, right? So as far as energy, as far as being sick free and that sort of thing. And but my background from growing up is my dad was a builder, so I'd always just be there at his side, digging holes, building whatever I could, at any time. And at the same time, I would have anaphylactic shock or allergies and things like that. So I was just like, wow, this is something I got to make sure I focus on health. So basically, I had gone into going off grid and building for a little while, and then saved up enough to move to Southeast Asia with my lady at the time. And we got a chance to kind of explore ourselves. And after a while of living on an island, you're just like, wow, I got to do something myself. It's cool eating coconuts and doing yoga and all that kind of stuff. And then so I found a personal trainer, and I was like, this is like taking it to the next level,
This is where we collided to each other. Yes. So, and it feels like so many lifetimes ago,
right? At
this point. But
and where were you at that point?
At that point in life, I had been living a very, what one may consider cookie cutter American life. I am from the Midwest. I did not like the Midwest. I landed in Southern California. I got married to the woman that I started dating when I was in college, and we eventually had kids, and I had a business, and she had a job. And when we met, I was trying to find more business, doing video production and photography, and I went to a BNI meeting, Business Networking International.
This is true.
And you happened to be the speaker of your group that day.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
And you did a presentation. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those moments I look back at and realize that if I believe that there is a divine source out there that's pushing us into a specific space and time, it placed me in that room in that moment.
Oh, wow.
Because I was watching you and I'm thinking to myself, what he's saying makes a lot of sense. You were talking about holistic food and holistic workouts and activating your mind and your body. Mm-hmm. And no one had ever really shared that with me. Or they had, I hadn't paid attention.
Right.
And at the time I was feeling very out of shape. I was pretty out of shape.
And you hadn't had kids yet?
I had not had kids yet. Mm-hmm. No, that was soon to come after.
So to speak.
And what you said made a lot of sense. And I'm going to fast forward 6 months later. After working with you for 6 months, you needed a sub for that same BNI group. Mm-hmm. And I had not been back or seen any of those people since the day that I met them 6 months prior to that. And I weighed 40 pounds less.
Oh, wow.
And you asked me if I would speak on your behalf and be your sub. I don't know if you remember this part of the story because you weren't in the room when this happened. But I showed up with an iPad, which was like a new invention at the time. And I showed everybody in the room. I said, we all met 6 months ago, but you might not remember me. I looked like this. And it's like my before photo.
Oh, nice.
And now after 6 months of working with Atomm, I look like this. It was like the best live ad you could have possibly placed in front of the room. And all these people who hadn't hired you were looking at me like, oh my God, like what he's saying is true.
I remember influx of business at that point.
And that's hopefully that led to some serious work for you. But no, my now ex, but my wife at the time started working out with you as well. And I believe strongly that we eventually had our first child after a lot of trying because we were eating healthy for the first time because of you, and we were working out, and we were into running, and all of the things that our bodies wanted to align the hormones to make sure that we were able to be healthy and succeed in even bringing a child into the world, which, to this date, I suppose, was almost 11 years ago when that happened. So I can tell you for a fact. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, man. It was fun working with you and just seeing your progress. So yeah, seeing where you guys were and seeing where you are now, and looking back, it just goes, wow, like there's so many times in life where there's something presented to us, we receive what we need to, and then we move forward, and then we may look back and go, oh wow, that came to me back when, and now I'm actually utilizing it. So as far as, I think the theme of what we're talking about is that we have a normal or life that we live, and then there's the thing that like breaks us through.
Yeah.
Whether it's through a healing crisis, or hopefully we don't have to go that far, and hopefully it can just be like, wow, this person has a certain frequency or vibration. What do they got going on? Like, what's the secret sauce?
Well, and I think a lot of it stems from limiting beliefs where, at the time that, I'm looking back now, it's obvious to see looking back, but, why wasn't I in good shape, like, or fit, and part of it was education. Like, I don't think that I had been handed the tools, but at the same time, I didn't think that I could. I remember even asking you over and over, like, am I really going to have a body that looks fit one day? Like, is that even a possibility considering how I look now? Mm-hmm. And you were like, yeah, of course you can. You just need to just keep doing what you're doing. And for those that are wondering, what are we doing? I mean, it wasn't magic. It was a lot of body weight workout. Mm-hmm. It was learning different ways to use my body as far as twisting, moving forward, moving backward, running, jumping, using resistance bands, Bosu balls. I mean, it's a lot of the things that you would just see in a gym, but not even in the gym. I mean,
kick
it was
bag, sled, just unconventional things.
Yeah.
Deeper, wider sumo squats to, side lunges to diagonals to just essentially moving like an animal. Right?
And then
like
combining that with what am I putting into my body, and recognizing that what I thought was healthy at the time is a completely definition of what I have as healthy now. And it's funny because I am weekly being sold by vegetarian people to become vegetarian, and it's definitely something that my mind is traveling to. Maybe when you're watching this, I'm now vegetarian. I don't know, but at least at the moment, I still enjoy having some protein from animals in my diet. But what I have done, thanks to you, is learned, okay, well, where's that protein coming from? So I'm not nearly as willing to just go to a fast food restaurant and eat the grilled chicken as opposed to the fried chicken, because I thought the grilled chicken was going to be healthier than the fried chicken at Carl's Jr. or wherever else, right? And I say that because most of the fast food restaurants don't even have grilled chicken anymore, right?
Right.
They've gone to just having unhealthy food. And so learning where is my food sourced from. Fruits and vegetables, we know they're healthy because we've been told our whole lives they're healthy. But if it has chemicals sprayed all over it, then maybe there's something I'm putting into my body that should not be there.
Yeah, like if we're this has come up lately for me a lot, is food security. Like if the food supply chain stopped in 3 days, what do you have? So like seemingly inadvertent, but you'd always been into plants and just kind of loved that garden vibe. So now if we were to go to your backyard, you got bananas growing, some hot chilies that I just picked. I think I just brought them here. And then just things are like there's a connection, right? So like during the pandemic, a lot of stuff shut down, and a lot of us went back into depression or nostalgia, whether it was comics or like, shows did really well because we were like, what do we do? But I think a healthy byproduct of that was, what do my neighbors have to share? Like they got eggs, I got basil, like, that kind of coming back to the roots.
Right.
And things that, we don't like to talk about, generally speaking, because it gets divisive. Politics, money, what's the other third one? Religion. And generally, those things are mitigating truths. The truth cannot be politicized, but quite often it's gaslit. So basically, when we're in truth, we're not in groupthink. We can connect with each other on a personal basis. We want to share, we want to be giving. Like that's generally what I find human nature is. When we're in a place of disease or fault, whether we're in pain, hungry, fear, angry, lonely, or tired, that's going to be a compromised part of us. It's hard to be our best selves in that place. So that's usually where compassion comes up. But we also, individually for us, it's important for us to set ourselves up for success. Like if we know that every time we interact with that neighbor, we get a little agitated and we're not feeling our best selves, it might be best to not interact with that neighbor on the daily, or maybe,
or try to resolve things and switch the vibration so it's positive.
And so setting ourselves up for success, like for instance, talking about gym culture. If you don't have your gym bag packed the night before, knowing that you're going to try to get to the gym at 5 a.m., and in the morning there's just disorientation, by the simple act of not packing the gym bag, that's literally planning to fail. And so like how quite often in our lives, it's like when something becomes something we really want, or it's like part of our new habit, it's like setting ourselves up peripherally for that.
We're always talking now about rushing to get to yoga. And the entertaining factor that like the whole purpose of yoga is to find calm and unity and bring your mind and body into a space where you can meditate. Yet we live in a culture here where, I'm blessed that I do yoga 5-6 days a week, usually hot yoga with weights now. And there are, sadly, for what it's worth, I'll just be honest, there's many a time that I'm just like trying to throw my stuff together last minute, trying to get quick, trying to get there, trying to get in the room.
I wasn't
so
trying
that
to poke at you,
I can get
Josh.
my weights on the ground. It happens. I mean, look, when you work out that much and I own a couple companies and have kids, I'm still living a life where, I can't just always be in that state of calm. But at the same time, I've kind of thrived to some extent on how much I'm getting done by just
you gamify. You're
making sure I know what I'm doing almost every minute of the day and making sure that it's productive is really what it's about. And by the way, I want to jump back for a moment. It's ironic that you brought up the two topics of COVID happening and gardening, because I actually started gardening when COVID happened because we were stuck home. And I was trying to find new things that I could do at my house, and I wanted to teach my kids that food came from the ground, that from the earth, that food didn't come from a grocery store, because what if one day you're not going to be able to get to the grocery store? And so a neighbor, as you said, it happened exactly like that. One day we were walking the dog, and this neighbor said, "Hey, I've got a tomato plant here I grew. I've got too many of them. Do you want one?" And I was like, "I don't know what to do with that, but that'd be great." And I put it in the ground, and I remember even thinking at the time, this thing is going to die because when I plant things, they don't grow. Back to limiting beliefs, right? But I was very surprised that it did grow, and all of a sudden I had a bunch of tomatoes. And I then said, well, what else can I grow in this garden?
I think at that time, I'm going to interrupt, or I'm going to interlude, because I remember you saying specifically, I have a brown thumb. Everything I plant just turns brown. I'm like, well, keep planting it until your thumb turns green.
Yeah.
Because the fact is, like, we think all of a sudden, oh shoot, I have this responsibility. Well, lean into it.
Right.
Like, it's okay.
Right.
You're gonna be all right. Like, there's, like, when you talk about like the abundance of nature, like one tomato can grow 40 plants.
Yeah.
And so for us to focus on the one that died, it's just like, come on now.
Right. And what's wonderful is now my neighbors see me as the resource. I'm getting calls constantly about how to grow things and what plants to grow. And
your latest endeavor you've been doing?
With the bananas.
No.
Which one?
You're wearing it, bro.
Yeah, so which also came from a limiting belief, by the way. So this was, I've been doing some traveling, and I like jewelry, specifically crystals and gems and necklaces. And I discovered that when I'm traveling and I find these really cool necklaces, most of them are more expensive than I want to spend when I'm on these trips. And I'm looking at this going, why don't I just buy the stones and make the necklace? And there was this very loud voice in my head that said, you can't do that, which I mean, there's a lot we can go into, but I own a holistic healing company, and a large part of what we teach to our clients is neuro-linguistic programming, is reprogram your mind to be positive all the time with everything. As soon as you get that negative thought that comes in, remove it, replace it with positive. Yet this was like this belief that kept coming and coming and coming. Like, you can't do that. You can't do that. You don't know how to make a necklace, so you can't. So I literally just bought the twine. I bought the wax string, and I bought a gem at a festival. And I brought it home, and I went onto YouTube and figured out how to do what to do. And I learned not only, exactly, right, everything there is learned. Not only could I do it, but I was good at it, and I enjoyed doing it. And to take it even a step further, I have 2 children. My 8-year-old loves doing it.
Oh, wow.
And so this became a thing for the two of us to bond together, that now I'm teaching him about business. And fast forward to now, I've sold a bunch of these, and I have an Instagram for them, and I've been at a couple festivals with a table, a booth, selling necklaces. Like, I'm a jeweler. Like the million titles I've had in this lifetime right now, jeweler was never one of the things I thought was going to be a title of mine, but literally now I Keymaker gems.
Looks pretty fly, man. I'm looking forward to that one you made me for.
It's sitting in here. I meant to give it to you before we started recording today. I have a necklace for you. For your birthday. No, I've kept the ones I like the most. And malachite is my favorite stone, and I've not seen many faceted malachites of this size in particular. And I won't admit on camera what I bought this for, because I got it wholesale. But this is an exact example of what I would have bought.
We're going to side skirt around the religion, politics, money vibe. Just know that it's a frequency that you resonated with.
Yeah.
And I'd like to bring up the fact that you help people release the negative thoughts, but then it's like almost like there's no such thing as negativity. There's only getting in the way of productivity. So it's like by producing something, it's naturally already positive, It's our judgment that we put on it that's the negative thing that basically just stops production.
Right.
It's like when they say there's the only real thing is love. True. And then when we're not feeling loving or lovable or in a space of love, we can do things to get in the way of receiving love.
Yeah.
So that's all there really is.
I mean, I see it more and more and more these days. I'm really blessed that my kids are into video gaming. I've always enjoyed video games. I've never been a gamer. And it's great because I have other productive things that I'm doing. But not that gaming's not, whatever, we're not going to go there right now. But anyways, my kids play games.
Right.
And if I want to hang out with my kids, I love playing games with them. And we play a ton of Minecraft. And I'm looking at this and I'm going, this is not too different than my reality.
So
There's
Minecraft
negative.
is where you're creating reality with shapes.
You're in a world
or?
and you can build what you want to build. But if you want to, in the survival mode we play, if you want to build things, you have to acquire them. And the more you acquire, the more you can get. And you get sort of like experience points as you're going. And you can then create more things when you have more experience. But
I like that.
at night, every night, the evil comes out. The negative comes out.
Like on the game?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
that's when you get all the bad guys, right? And you have a choice. You can go to sleep and then wake up the next day and just continue your daily day-to-day, growing food and growing crops and doing the things that we do in the world, trading and getting coins and emeralds and things. Or you can fight the bad guys. And if you do that, though, you get other things that are positive from it. But there's that challenge that they might kill you. And then you lose your experience points. You have to start over again at 0. And I very much equate that, as did the makers of the game, to what's happening in my day-to-day basis. There are multiple times a day that negativity comes to me. And I have a choice. I can run away from it and hide from it, or I can just take it on and battle it. Sometimes the better decision is just to avoid it, right? Other times you take it on, you get over it, you remove it, and you replace it. That's kind of how I see it. Once I've battled the negative, what positive can I get from that?
Right.
And it could be something as simple as a limiting belief of you can't make necklaces, and now I have an entire, Keymaker Gems is like the jewelry company. Or
Insta.
it could be a disease
Keymaker.
or an illness that you get. It could be something really, really serious. It could even be life-threatening. And instead of seeing that as something that's happening to you and bringing you down and continuing to get into a darker and darker, darker, darker place until it overcomes you and you'll never come out of it, see it as an opportunity. Why is this happening for me? What is the positive that I can get out of a situation that could be horrific? It could be negative. It could be terrible. It could be something that happened in the past. It could be trauma that happened to you. Instead of viewing that trauma as I'm going to spend the rest of my life angry, depressed, and mad that this happened to me, take a moment and go, well, how can I interpret that situation as something that happened for me? What did I learn from it? What can I do to make sure it never happens again, not only to me, but to others? And you may find an entire new life of positivity, of battling that negativity.
Framing it. There's a really great book that I just finished called The Upsides of Stress. So it's not that the longest lived people, the blue zone people that live, 100 plus and still having wonderful sex and gardening and hiking and all that stuff past 100. It's not that they didn't have stress. It's that they had what they called a manageable amount of stress. And the way it's framed is generally a challenge, like, interesting challenge. Like when you're rock climbing, you say, like you look at this path and it might look overwhelming, but you say, okay, this is a good rock problem. Like here's a great, and then so it's like a lot of times it's changing the approach and going, okay, this direction is going to be more approachable. And so like with us in the way we're told stress is bad, stress kills, well, those studies were based on rats that were being shocked in drowning in water. So they had no way to even get out of drowning. And they're like, oh, look, stress kills. Well, if I'm being shocked in water and then they say, stress kills, yeah, of course it kills. But when we have the ability to know, oh shoot, there's a little rock. Oh, shoot, if I go like this, I'm not going to get shocked anymore. Oh, actually now that I have that awareness, I'm actually not getting shocked anymore. And I'm like, when I see something unstable, I'm not falling in the water. So like that's the whole thing with our medulla oblongata, our reptilian brain. And so a lot of us meaning of the people watching this, people are going to have some awareness. But if you are in a stressful situation and you don't know how to get out of it because you're, many scenarios, it's going to be hard to have the awareness that you can get out of that. So the little voice in our head that says, oh, you can't do that. It's like, well, maybe that's our mother telling us that as a 5-year-old because she's trying to do the best she can because she doesn't want us to suffer disappointment. But disappointment is a perception, and maybe that's what we needed. So that voice might just have been that that situation.
Well, we all have generational trauma, right? And I keep hearing different numbers of how far back the generational trauma goes, right? I'm not going to tell you a specific 9 generations, 7 generations, 14 generations. I keep hearing the different things. But let's at least the bottom line. Like a scenario last week, I was at a beach and I was there with a friend, and she has a 4-year-old, and the 4-year-old picked up a feather from the beach, and her mom right away, "Don't touch that. That's dirty. You're going to get sick."
Avian. Bird flu.
And I looked at her and I said, "Can I ask you a question? Why do you think that?" It's a feather that's been sitting, and by the way, the feather was sitting among rocks and sticks and dirts and all these things the kid had been playing with for hours already. There was nothing different about that feather than anything else that was in the mess that the daughter was playing with it. Right. But she replied exactly what I expected. Well, my mother told me when I was a kid that you can't play with the feather. The feather's dirty. You're going to get sick. And I bet you that her mom's mom, when she was a kid, told her, "Don't pick up that feather. It's dirty. You're going to get sick."
4 moms earlier got eaten by a bird.
Possibly. At the same time, I don't know a single human being in my lifetime that got sick from picking up a feather off the beach, right?
Right.
So these things have been programmed into us, whether it's by our parents or whether it's by social media now or whether it's by the news when we were children or whether it's by the design of our existence, which is, here's negative things to happen for you. How are you going to live your life to make sure that you battle that with positivity?
Sure.
And now that I have that mindset, and I share that mindset with others as well, my positivity gets mirrored back to me every moment of the day, which is the most wonderful thing ever. I mean, we are mirrors. We give out a message and a vibration, and that vibration and message comes back to us. And I talk about this all the time in lots of different scenarios. Best example. Let's say a puppy came in the room right now. Anybody who's in the room with that puppy is going to just light up with joy. The only person who's not, by the way, is someone who once got bit by a dog and has still not gotten over it, right? And has that trauma that they're not letting go of. Everybody else, puppy comes in room, "Oh my gosh, look how cute. Your vibration is elevated because of this dog." When the dog leaves the room, we go back to where we were with the vibration of the people who were in the room.
So you're obviously a dog person, right?
I'm very much a dog person.
Okay,
yes.
cool. Because there's people that are not into dogs that might just.
Think of what it is. If it's a best friend, that comes in the room with the vibration is when your friend comes in versus someone who you don't like for some reason that walks in the room, right?
Right.
That's the type of energy that we give off every time we enter a space. And we have control over ourselves to present that energy how we want to present it.
Sure.
And you have people that go in the room and they're displaying negativity in one way or another. They're always complaining about things. They're not talking about ideas. They're just talking about others. And they surround themselves with those people. And that negative conversation becomes more and more and more and more and more negative until somebody has to come in and change the vibration.
Yeah, they might start with what I call early morning fear porn meditation, aka the news.
Right.
So it's like bad, sensationalism and basically get you to have a reaction, which is generally like, again, negativity is like fight or flight or freeze. And then, get spun out on coffee and then go into the world. And it's like, that's kind of a harsh frequency. And a lot of people do that. And I'm hoping, I'm putting out there that less and less people see validity in hearing negative news as like a great way to start the day. Because if something's that bad and negative, like a fire's coming, somebody's going to be like, "Hey, a fire's coming," and you can see smoke. So like maybe a bad example, but like...
No, literally, I lived 3 houses from a school. There was a lockdown. There were 150 police officers and dogs and whatever.
Like, wait,
that didn't even make the news, but I knew it was happening because it was in my ether, in my essence and around here.
Right.
I think you probably helped me to stop watching the news at first partially, and now, I view... There's an entire generation of people who are addicted to watching the news still, right? And I don't want to knock the boomers, but it's my parents' generation. And I asked them...
They're what we call the last of the legacy media. They still subscribe to cable news. They don't really know what else to do.
Well, I asked them, why do you watch this? Like, what positivity comes out of it? And the response I get is, well, you have to watch it.
Well, you gotta know what's going on.
Why do you have to watch it? Well, you gotta know what's going on. How else are you gonna know what's going on? And I try to explain. You realize that this is just a TV show, and that all of the news people are paying for you to see to get their message and their agenda across to you, and you've been buying into this the fear of the disease of the week, whatever that is. Every week there's a new disease that you
is
have to
there?
be afraid
Cool.
of.
I didn't know that.
The war of the month. Every month there's another war that we have to be afraid of. But the whole reason you look at the back end of it is, well, we have to be afraid of a war because then we have to buy more military weapons. And we buy more military weapons, and the military weapons companies have more money to pay to the government so that they can pass more laws to make more wars, so that they can put more money in their pockets.
I was going to say, they're all owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. State Street, they own both of them. Both of them own State Street. So realistically, whether you're talking about pharma, which is the only country that can have advertisements for diseases and all the pills and the long list of byproducts or side effects at the end of the commercial, to the Raytheon and the weapons contractors, to even really the construction companies, the Halliburton. So once they bomb and blast an area, then they get the contracts to rebuild it up. So they're not going to report on things that are not flattering to the parent company. And so like that's the part is like, well, if you're into reporting, or like they used to call it journalism, I think they used
now
to
it's called
call it.
censorship.
Oh, I thought it was just called repeaters because they're not reporters; they just repeat.
Right.
So,
well, to be really clear, I'm not talking about fake news, right? That's not even it. The news that we see, actually, I think most of it is pretty real. What you're seeing is actually happening. What you're not seeing, though, is that with most of these stories, there's more to the story, and the other thing you're not seeing is what they're purposefully not sharing.
Well, yeah,
because they don't want you to know about all these other things. They want you to know about just this. And if you could buy into that.
As a videographer, have you seen the one where it shows the guy like rescuing the child, but like realistically he's got the gun to the child because he's zoomed out?
Right.
So it's like, which angle and perspective is happening here? Because I think anything that's powerful is based on a level of truth, and it's being spun generally for a narrative or for an outcome.
Right.
And so like a Bible is a great example. Like whether Shakespeare inserted New Testament, which, there's a lot of proof to believe, and that this came 1,000+ years after the actual characters, it generally has some sort of emotional trigger that people go, wow, this is so amazing. I'm like, okay, great. If the guy that you follow, you just go to a place that's supposed to be the house of God, which to me it's supposed to be everywhere, right? Nature, like you go into a forest, you're like, wow, this is amazing.
Right.
So if it's like the hour to go there, then what about all the rest of the hours in the week? What about like, okay, there's such a profound moral compass in teaching that I have to do the work. And so whether we're talking about reps in a gym because you want to get cut and bulky and strong, or you want to be a better person and you want to eliminate those negative thoughts and voices that come up. All the parables about in the cartoons, the little devil guy and little angel guy. This aspect I wanted to talk about that might be helpful as far as where I've expanded and learned from is to really embrace the mundane and treat it like a spiritual. So like, I joke every time I go to Home Depot, I'm like Home Desperado, Homies Depot, and like I always have a new name because it seems very Matrix to me or very mainstream, because I can't really relate to the type of construction guy that's out there. And so for the longest time, seeing my dad just as a immigrant from Colombia and just like doing his best to fit into this world, and embracing the fact that he's just a happy-go-lucky dude. He's probably one of the most spiritual guys that's not spiritual because he's just happy. It's like, you don't have to wear all the wares and stuff, even though it's kind of cool and fun sometimes, right?
I make great necklaces, but it's not about that specifically.
I'm trying to plug your,
I appreciate that.
your jewelry here, brother. So for me, I've had this internal struggle in my life of like, I don't want to be blue collar. I'm more intelligent. I go to massage school, and then I've studied sociology, and I want to like explore the world and be proud on my intelligence. But I think that in this day and age with AI and with vaporware and all these ICO and companies creating value out of nothing, like we're in Orange County right now, which is like financial place, or like, if the world stops, do you know how to grow food? Do you know how to mend a wound? Do you know how to like, hold conflict resolution when stuff gets tight? And I think, again, coming back to this world's reset we recently had 5 years ago, it made me really appreciate that after the last restaurant I had in 2015, at the end of 2015, I just decided, you know what? I've always done construction, but I've always been like, a project or helping my dad do something. So instead of doing, which I've done massage, I was a yoga teacher, you met me as a personal trainer, I helped start 2 restaurants. I had my last one was my 3rd restaurant with my partner. And so I'm like, you know what, I've dabbled with like wanting to help people with food or wanting to help them with their body. What would it look like to put it all together? And then so I had to like look in the mirror and say, you got to work on that guy, because that guy is the guy that is going to be free. I can always, jump around or get some followers or do some product. And I'm like, well, I got to just embrace this. So basically just became, bought tools and started fixing stuff and did an ad on Nextdoor. And then, I've come in your life a couple times more recently and been like, dude, do you need some things done? I appreciate you.
But I think you've simplified it for yourself a lot, which is part of just who you are, which is very admirable. But the reality is that each of these things you've done, you've taken as far as you possibly can. Mm-hmm. And once you've done it, you've then been able to take that and pivot to another thing and pivot to another thing, which then you take as far as you can, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you got licensed to be a contractor. When you were a personal trainer, learned everything you possibly could to do your personal training, and went out there.
But I'm like, okay, you got to just keep showing up.
Right, but you're one of these people that sets your mind to doing something and takes it as far as you possibly can and does it the right way. And I think it's really admirable, and you become a resource for people for all these different things that you've mentioned. For me, it's been a lot about just getting advice on health and food, and then turning into, well, I'm growing food. What do I need to do with my passion fruits? And you teaching me how to trim the plant back and hang it on the wall and all these, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. To then my house needing to have some things fixed. And, that's one adventure I'm personally not ready to take yet because of time. Like I'm just building up a lot of things right now, and I don't have time to necessarily fix all the things that are in my house. And that's okay, because I have someone like you that can come in and do that for me, because you put the time into doing that. And so, and I believe that, by the way, also of my accountant, and I believe that of, my financial person. Like there's people out there that just are skilled at the best of the ability to possibly be at. Mm-hmm. And those are the people that I want to surround myself with, so that I can then maximize what I'm doing to help the world with what I'm doing, right?
Well, that's what the successful people we look up to do, right? Whether you're talking Tony Robbins or, whoever's in your world, Buffett, Mark Cuban, whoever these guys are that, and women too. I'm sorry, I'm not coming up with the women that are as young and such, because usually they're the ones that are.
Taylor Swift. There's lots of other women out there, but she's really made a career for herself.
Can I throw out Selma Hayek? Can I?
Also good.
I'll trade you.
There's a long list of them
for your
out there.
Taylor Swift. But the point is, to be a high functioning person, you got to know the things that are a pain point for you, and know somebody really good and qualified that you can trust to be able to do that. So it's funny you mention that, because essentially that's what I decided to do, because I'm not really fixing houses anymore, but I realized with you, I'm like, hey man, I can do that pretty straightforward. You know how to do video. So it would be really cool if I could start this process of sharing with people. And I think this audience right now is just people that know us, that want to get to know us better and to know the human element. And basically, how does construction and personal training and food and growing food, how does all of this fit together? And it's like, well, we're just learning how to live,
I want to go back to something you said in the very first minute of this video.
Okay.
And you used a term that I've been hearing a lot, which is New Age. Mm-hmm. And that, I'm a sound healer, and I do breath work and yoga as a practitioner. And people are always telling me I'm New Age. And I'm looking at them and I'm going, what I'm doing is ancient.
You're old.
This is not new. New Age are these pills that everybody is taking that are manufactured in these plants overseas and put in these bottles and sent over for you to take for the rest of your entire life, every single day, 3 times a day. Mm-hmm. Not because it's going to ever fix you, just because it's going to mask what you have so that someone else can make a lot of money when you buy pills from them. That model is New Age.
Well, that's somebody in an advertising firm that's paid to be a marketer to slander, discredit, and try to belittle, so that everyone doesn't take it seriously.
Right.
So
what I'm trying to do is ancient. What I'm trying to do is use the vibrations of the world with sound and with light and with food
And you're qualified. That's what you went to college for, right? Music.
Ironically, so I did. I went to school for music. I have a master's degree in jazz studies for trumpet playing, which I could look at and say that was the most worthless degree one could possibly have, because as I'll just do a quick test. Anybody watching this, if you've hired a trumpet player more than once in your life for anything, send us a message and let us know. And I'm impressed. We're not going to get any messages, by the way. No.
Trumpet players. No. We'll shout out to our trumpet players, man.
Thank you. But I also play guitar and piano and all the things. But at the same time, it's like, not all. But what I've done instead is I've gone, okay, I have these skills. I'm a great musician in some regard. And what can I do with that? And now that's moved to music with intention. So I'm taking those skills as an educator and as a musician, which is what my degrees are both in, and I'm saying, how can I help the world with this? And so now I'm hosting sound healing ceremonies, and I'm working in mental health clinics with my company 0 Point Activation, and helping people to understand that the pills and the talk therapy help to some degree. And I'm not anti-talk therapy, I want to make that really clear. But you can only heal from the things that you can actually talk about. And we all have traumas inside of us that we don't even know are there.
Right.
So if you can't talk about it, how's it going to come up in talk therapy? With breath work, with other vibrational work such as sound healing, we access parts of our body and our brain and our mind and our memories that we might not be able to access otherwise. And then once you're aware it's there, now we could talk about it. Now we can find ways to fix it. And each of these things that I'm talking about are simply an awareness of our 5 senses and ways that we can improve slightly on each one of those 5 senses in order to make our lives better, to release that negative and to bring in the positive. I have a lot of examples of that, but
when
that's
you said that reminds me of there's a saying in massage and in different energy circles is the issues in the tissue. So whether it's a physical trauma or an emotional trauma, it's stored in the tissue. And we know the story about Siddhartha Buddha sitting under the tree and becoming enlightened. Well, what they didn't necessarily tell you is that they called them back when sankharas, like bubbles of trauma. And so he decided, you know what, I'm not going to react to these bubbles, because I know when I watch it dissipate, or I'm aware, observation through sensation, through respiration. Once I sit there, I know it's a mouthful. So when I sit there and I let these dissipation, so like it's an that person did this to me, this, that, the other. It's just like literally letting it dissipate. And then there's deeper stuff underneath. So like when you said that, I almost imagine you doing the bowls and doing like didgeridoo or whatever kind of sound frequency vibration on somebody. And they might just twitch, like the way a dog will twitch, if it's going to...
Well, these are all somatic reactions our body has to healing, frankly.
Right, and then that's freeing up. Oh, wow, I remember when I went to this, place, some sensation came up to me, and it's like, okay, well, we don't necessarily need to talk through every aspect of it, but now you actually have something, reference point, to be able to even have a conversation or dance more freely, and then that hip impingement's not there that normally is there.
Well, and a lot of that's caused by inflammation. So then we have to go, what is inflammation and where did the inflammation come from? And the reality is everything that we feel inside of our body came from our interpretation of our mind as it reacts to vibrations, right? And there are positive vibrations and there are negative vibrations. And all 5 senses are simply sensing vibrations. Sound is an obvious one, right? We all see sound as these waves thanks to 2-dimensional drawings, but they're really not. Sound is a 3-dimensional cone that spirals and spins at you, and at certain frequencies makes the water in your body vibrate. Some frequencies and some instruments and sounds are calming. That enables us to calm our mind, to put ourselves close to a sleep state. And when that happens, we start to heal similar to when we're asleep, even though we're awake. The other side of that, blast yourself with really harsh, scary sounds all day long, and we know from, sadly, people who are tortured with sound, that our bodies will react negatively, and all of a sudden your muscles start to cramp up and all this inflammation starts to happen in different parts of your bodies. Now, those are extreme examples, right? But if you can adjust the things you hear, the things you listen to, whether it's bad language in movies, remove those movies and watch movies that don't have it. Gunshots, things that are negative, if you could adjust, instead of listening to this, listen to this. Nothing against death metal. I do enjoy music of all varieties.
I just saw a Judas Priest concert last week.
And that.
I'm like...
And how did that relate to going to see a sound healing session, right?
Well, it made me want to actually go to a sound session after, because I was like, wow, I used to be able to handle this because I didn't know what to do with the energy as a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
And I just thought, oh wow, this harsh music resonates with me, and it probably did.
Right.
But now I'm like, wow, that's so angry sounding. I'm like, good on them for doing it for 56 years. You know?
Right.
Like,
but what kind of
amazing.
trauma has that caused for them? You never know, right? But for us as the listener, we have a
Whole
choice.
nother deep dive. But yeah.
Every minute of the day, we can choose what it is we want to hear. Okay. That's the vibration of sound. Now, I can go into this way longer.
Right.
But our other four senses, visual. The only reason why we see things is because light is also a vibration. There's a spectrum of lights. In fact, there's lights that exist that we cannot see because it's off the spectrum that we can see, right? But it still exists. We just can't see it. But light is a vibration. Instead of having really harsh bulb lights, you know, that flicker and buzz.
LEDs are flickering too.
The LEDs are also flickering, but what I like about them, they're not the perfect solution, I'll get to it in a second, is that you can adjust the color. So some days I want to feel purple, some days I want to feel green, sometimes I want the red, sometimes I want the blue. And therefore, I am making a decision when I enter a space, whether it's my car, my room, my living room, my bedroom, what color frequency do I want to relate to right now versus
what I like
what's
is
just
the
handed to me.
automated ones you do, and it'll change the spectrum from more blue daylight, and then at night, just like on your phone when you have night mode, it starts to fade and have more yellow light.
Right. So the best solution is natural light. Have some candles that are lit.
And
as
I just
opposed to lights at
learned,
night.
I'm going to share something I just learned, and I want you to share something you just learned
Please.
At some point when it feels natural. That the first thing in the morning, that first morning light, helps set our circadians, not just low light at night and not having overhead light at night, but just like lamps, because that looks like the sun, even if it's like a yellow spectrum. That early morning sunlight will help set our circadians, and it basically gives us that upliftment to where we're not going to have that crash in the afternoon as much.
Right. So natural light is the best vibrational light that we can do. So that's why go outside, go out to nature, leave the office for a little bit, take a walk.
Yeah.
These are little things you can do to adjust the vibration of light. Again, I'm not going to go into all of it, but the things that we smell, our olfactory nerve senses the vibration of smell. When we walk into a room, we have the sense of touch. We know instantly, is it cold in here? Is it hot in here? And we have just trained ourselves, if it's cold in the room, you put on a jacket. If you're overheating, take a jacket off, right?
We
always try to balance.
When we go to bed at night, you want it to be cooler. You don't want hot blankets and have it hot. You actually don't sleep well that way. And there's certain people that run cold, so they think that, you know, they need to have a bunch of blankets. But the fact is, it's like all these elements, when we're syncopated with nature, it would be more like we talked about, early morning light, you know, cooler at night, and this is something that helps us get into that deeper theta levels of sleep. I don't know how people do it. I just saw somebody, I won't even mention it, just like going to bed to like the news, and it's like blaring, and it's like blue light flickering, and I'm like, how is that? How do people do it?
Right. And then they're going out and they're having fried chicken for dinner thinking that they had something healthy, you know, and then that's
it's
the last.
Kind of like I bless them, because it's like, wow, you're doing actually a really good job at being as positive as possible of a human with all of this static and chaos.
But then you go into the psyche, or you start talking to them, and you start realizing that maybe they have room to improve, right? And
we don't even
space.
talk about disease and like gait of how they walk, and you know the stuff that comes of all that, because it's like once you start to dissect something, then you're like, okay, cause, effect.
Right.
So for my own life right now, what can I do from this conversation to make me have a better, greater level of happiness? So sometimes we just got to do an inventory of where we're at. And then like to not have that harsh critic is the balance, because it's like, first of all, this is happening for me, not to me. And secondly, I'm resilient and I can always change. So don't ever believe that whole nonsense about genetics does this and genetics does that. It's like, because yes, you were in the womb, and yes, the patterns of overfeeding to nurture and not moving enough and not drinking enough water first thing in the morning. It would be awesome to drink a quart of water, because you basically lose a quart of water in your sleep. I don't know if you knew that. I just found that out 2 days ago, like as a reminder. I'm like, okay, drink water before mate or tea or coffee or anything, even a smoothie. It's just like, gamify it and have fun with it. It's not like, I gotta be healthy or this is so stressful. But when you eat stress-induced and made foods, and stress-induced non-movement lifestyle that's going to essentially bring that out.
But food tricks you with its vibration. So that's the fifth sense that I haven't talked about. Well, because that's it. When you eat that donut and you put it in your mouth, your body goes, oh, this is good. This is a positive vibration. I'm really enjoying this experience. Now I'm going to go have a cookie. And again, I'm going to have fried chicken. There's so much fried chicken in the world right now. I don't understand. There's so much fried chicken.
There's a lot of fried chicken going on in your field right now, brother.
I keep seeing in my community, and all these people always. Anyways, but the bottom line is that once you
chicken right now.
Anyways, once you put the food into your body, then your body goes, wait a minute, this is not a positive vibration. So you've got to be kind of forward-thinking, okay, I can eat this now and I might have a momentary pleasure experience with this, but long-term, is this really fitting my goals? Is this really fitting my need?
The addictive, the immediate moment gratification. And sometimes it's like, okay, I just passed a test or I just graduated. So it's like once a year, once a 5 year, once a month, for women that are on their cycle. I don't get it. I hear you. I bless you. I can't even believe you all are still alive after all of that every month. It's amazing. So yeah, bless them. Chocolate, if that's too sugary, whatever. Like, that's understandable. But when it's like, oh, I got to just have this because that's just what I do. You know me. My brother did that the other night because we went to see J-Rad because it was like a really amazing concert. And then he's like, oh, I got to improve. I'm this or that. He said something very condescending to himself. I'm like, bro, you don't have to be that. You don't have to be that, explanatory piece of thing that you said about yourself. You don't need that.
Right.
And then he's like, oh, I just need to have a soda. I'm like, okay. So we had tacos. We had some Mexican Coke, which, whatever, I don't barely do. But to me, I was like, this is better of the
To
worst.
be clear, that was a soda that you had, the Mexican Coke, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make that really
Not
obvious to the
cocaine.
world so no one's concerned about the Mexican Coke that you had with your brother.
No.
Okay, cool.
No. Mexicans, cane sweetened, sugary Coca-Cola, 37 grams, whatever. And so I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, you know what? That was cool. And then it was like, before we got home, I just got to get some candy. I'm like, well, we just had like the sugar. And he goes, oh, I have no self-discipline, da-da-da. And I'm like, I want to somehow help remind you of this later when you say, oh, I got to change and I got to do this. So it's like, I have an idea for an app that would be really cool if you could have like, when you like airplay to somebody, but it was like be a snippet of a video. So it's like a Vine, but like little snippets. Somehow it makes it easy to record 2-minute like real life GIFs or something like that. And you just be like, yo, hey man, bump. And then you're like, oh yeah, I'm this or that. And it's like, well, hey, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus. I'm actually trying to share with you, or funny stuff, share with you the thing you said, but I know later you're going to remember, oh, I have bigger goals.
I mean, one thing you taught me.
I want to like get into this dress size, or I want to feel good when I'm like going to that altar.
Yeah, one thing. We have a visitor.
What's up, visitor?
Come on up here. One thing you taught me early on in working out, which was super profound, I'm not even sure if you're aware, is that I don't have to die of a heart attack just because my grandfather did and his dad did, and that my dad probably had a heart condition or is getting a heart condition or whatever. That doesn't have to be my future just because it was theirs. I lived my life until I met you, just assuming I was one day going to die of a heart attack and that I was just going to have a heart condition because that's the way that my family line has always died. And you were the one that said to me, well, maybe you think that just because that's what you were taught. That if you eat healthy and you exercise and you take care of your heart and you do the things that we're talking about here to replace the negative with positive, you aren't going to die of a heart attack. And it didn't even occur to me that there was even an option not to. That's how ingrained the program was in my mind.
That's Rockefeller taking over medicine starting in 1903, getting with Bill Gates' grandfather, Frederick Gates, and saying, look, we can manipulate people into believing their genetics are going to turn on them, and that this cancer happens to be in their genetics, or this heart disease happens to be in their genetics, and they take modern day foods, and then they say that it's an ancient disease. It's modern day foods creating modern day disease.
Right.
So literally that's like we're 122 years into the program of them telling us that our genetics are false. In the meantime, we've had 2 million plus new chemicals and millions of times more amount of EMFs and ELFs radiation, and then they're blaming our bodies?
But again, if you could take that situation and view it as these are the creatures coming out at night that are the negative, what do I do to avoid it? What do I do to fight it? What do I do to make sure it doesn't happen?
I love the applicability in the moment. I love that. Well, first and foremost, you're only as positive, rich, influential, inspiring is the 5 closest people that you spend time with. So, I get it. There's like our brothers or our neighbors, and like we kind of, pour one for the homies and give them a little energy, because it's not about us just always being around the perfect vibration. Yet, generally speaking, we want to be around those people. So,
for me, that's my dogs. I mean,
oh yeah,
one next to me and one under me right now. We spend every minute
so
together.
you're gonna start taking more yoga so you can lick your.
Is that what it is? To jump back in, though, studies are now showing that dogs' personalities very much are reflections of their owners. And that dogs pull on traits. It's been around for a long time, but we're finally being aware of it. And I do believe that the opposite happens as well, that we pull, empathy from our pets that we have, and the people around us, to your point, And
yeah, surrounding ourselves with good people is crucial.
Not only surrounding ourselves with good people, but making decisions on our day-to-day basis of what we want to consume as far as digital material. So I have this thing called hacking your algorithm.
Okay.
And what I've learned, this is once I started Zero Point Activation and started seeing what the feed looked like of the Instagram of Zero Point Activation. So we're a holistic healing company. And every single video that was popping up for Zero Point Activation was motivational, was spiritual, was intentional. I wasn't seeing any of these interviews of kiss or slap. I wasn't seeing any of these, people in, scantily clad clothing trying to sell products.
I don't even look at those, and they still keep coming up for me.
So what you got to do, I will tell you, no, it's not you. Like for a while, the first image every single day, I would open up Facebook. The very first post every day had our president on it.
Believe it or not, I found for myself, these were people that gave me like, oh, dude, you're so cool, or you're so this, you're so that. So I'm like, you're so just feeding my ego, and now in exchange, you want me to take on your negative energy.
Mm-hmm. Right. So anybody who's bringing that negative energy to you, it just takes one click to just never see them again on social media, never see the political posts that they're making, never see the negative hate thing that they're posting.
Right.
And all of a sudden, over about 2 or 3 months, my social media, my personal one, now mirrors very closely the 0 Point Activations, where I now use social media as motivation. You turn me on to, I'm going to give a big plug right here, official Mike Chan. Mike Chan, remember Mike Chan? He was hawking healthy food, 8-pack, muscles. When I was working out with you, fast forward a decade plus later, he is dialed in. Now he's not talking about muscles and all that. He's talking about stretching. He's talking about meditation. He's talking about vibrational work. He's, every single day, it's if you want to live a longer, happier, healthier life, do this bouncing, do this tapping, do these things.
Shout out Mike Chang.
Shout out to Mike Chang and who you've become, and congrats on the new baby. Anyways, I follow him.
You really follow him. That's good, man.
And
congrats.
It's wild to see his progression. Has its mirrored kind of our progression, that is no longer, at least for me and for sure for you, about having a 6-pack and having these huge biceps and having, the thing to attract the people.
Well, we talked about that being the mirror muscles, because generally it's like, I want to feel attractive or I want to feel loved, and we think it's 6-packs. For males, it's our biceps. For women, it's like, just their nice natural curves. But realistically, again, I think we're like, because of I call it the pandemic, and people a lot of times got more into alcohol and ketamine, which then I call that the pandy candy. So once you've grown out of that, if you did all that, bless you. But once you realize, you know what, I'm so sick of running, like I'm gonna sit under this tree until I got it, and I'm gonna figure it out. Then we start to realize all of this stuff is illusory and it's not for our benefit, and I don't need to lean into the fear. I need to show up for, like you said, how it's changing your algorithm. It's how you show up. One of the biggest addictions I ever dealt with was the scroll. I call it the scrolly scroll. So it's oh, I'm finding stuff or I'm informationing and stuff. I'm like, nope, I gotta not do the scroll first thing in the morning and first thing at night. So I'm on almost 3 months now, no social. Which is yeah, that's cool, but once we get rid of a negative, that doesn't mean it's a positive. It means, if anything, we're back at neutral.
Right. So here's the best solution I found for me. And again, I'm not plugging Keymaker Gems again, but
please do.
My kids are at that age where they're in sports 5 days a week, and one of them is a water polo player, and one of them does track and field. And I try to be at as many practices as I possibly can be at, and I'm a very active dad. And I'm sitting with most of the moms and a couple of the dads for sure, and I have 2 hours to sit by a pool, okay, which also has its own chemical repercussions, but that's a whole separate issue.
Yeah.
I'm watching all the parents and they're just literally scrolling
Scrolls.
for 2 hours straight. And I would be doing the same thing, but instead I bring out my macrame board, I bring out the string, and I will make 2 necklaces every workout. And then I have product that I could sell. But to take it a step further, the way that I make these is you do on the left side a knot over and a knot under, and then right side knot over, knot under. And I'm combining it with breath work.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I'm doing an inhale, and I'm doing an exhale, and I'm doing an inhale. And I set an intention for every necklace that I make. And when you buy a necklace, you can see right on it, I write down the intention that I had while I was making it, that we're putting into the necklace as it's being created. And so I could be sitting there just soaking in the chlorine, in the fumes, and scrolling and taking in the negative and the news and all that thing like everybody else is doing around me.
Or like me, I was like, oh, I'm not doing the news. I'm doing, different building techniques and, like fasteners and different yoga meditation moves. And I'm like, well, it's still a lot of intake. So like realizing our probably most precious, valuable thing is our optical real estate. And that's why a lot of these AI companies are valued so highly. They're not even selling a product because all they need is your eyeballs. And then your eyeballs are basically saying, look, this is what value is. So companies are being evaluated on if you're there. So it's like if you haven't achieved your dreams or gotten the body you think you need, which a lot of times you realize once you get that, there's more to it than just that. It's like I want to be able to be happy. What a concept. So like when we focus on that, our optical real estate goes to us. Like jewelry, okay, how do I now like embed a mantra even when you're doing the loop? It's like, I am love,
yes.
I'm amazing, I am capable. And like what if at the end you just say, I am capable, and somebody's like suicidal is like, okay, I should say I'm amazing or I'm beautiful, but you know what, I can resonate with that. Because as long as I can be capable, then maybe I can be of value or of service. And then maybe I could be magnanimous.
And I love that.
Brilliant.
This is part of the negative again. It's the world always telling us that we're inadequate. We have to wear this certain deodorant because we smell bad or perfume, right? We have to have a certain car because if you don't drive this car, you're not going to look as good and you're not going to attract the positivity that you're looking for. But what if that car is too expensive for you and now you're having financial issues as a result of trying to look cool,
and
right?
You smell bad too.
And you can smell bad at the same time, right? So between advertising and all these things, the world we live in is designed to make us feel bad about ourselves. And so we need to find ways to remind ourselves through neurolinguistic programming. If you don't know what that is, look it up. We can all benefit from neurolinguistic programming. It's reaffirming for ourselves that the world doesn't have to be the way we were told it was. The world could be whatever we want to make it to be.
Correct. Shifting your algorithm, shifting what you put your eyeballs on, shifting like the words that come out of your mouth. It's like they say, well, you are what you eat. Well, you're more what comes out of you. So like the result of the feelings you have and the words that come out, they call it a spell for a reason. Like we're basically, I feel like we're here to find value or to find purpose and essentially lean into that to create more value. And generally that's basically doing something that's productive, creative, proactive.
Totally agree with that. And I think that the most important part of everything you're saying fills into that one word, which is authenticity, which is being your authentic self. That I think love is among the most powerful vibrations that we have in the world, and that the world should be surrounded by more and more and more love. And if we can love out, we get love back. That's how we're going to battle this negativity. It's not necessarily by trying to take over every issue in the world all at once. We can't change certain things today.
Right.
But we can plant seeds today by convincing more people that unconditional love is an important thing that we all need to experience. And then maybe a lot of the hatred and racism and things that are negative are going to disappear as you replace it with love. But people will not pay attention to you unless you experience and demonstrate that authenticity.
Well, that's Gary Brecka. We follow him. I was going to mention the thing about the heart disease is the MTHFR gene that generally gets manipulated and turned off. And that is genetic only because those are life choices and pathways that, because put simply, we take nutrients in, our body converts it to usable things. It's called methylation. So the MTHFR, otherwise known as the motherfucker gene, as a joke, but that is a master regulator for how we convert something like folic acid or folate into folic acid. so that's why I keep mentioning to you before, is like doing enriched foods. That's a laboratory folic acid that actually is reverse. It does not help us. And so you can be doing all the different nutrients and supplements and kind of like pop-a-moling, oh, CoQ10's popular, or omega-3 this or that. Problem is that, getting testing's one thing, but the other thing is just know half of us have a really hard time absorbing and utilizing these like enriched flours, rice, anywhere you eat except Indian because it's basmati or Persian because it's basmati. Breads, dips, spreads, anything that's got enriched in it, that's one element. But not to get too deeply into that, it is important that we get tested to find out how open and free we are in our arterial walls. But just note that you're talking about inflammation. Inflammation's about lifestyle and the high sugars, high carbs, which that's my problem right now with vegetarianism. I call it starchitarianism a lot of times, is that it's a very high starch diet. So unless you're really doing like whole foods from the ground, not like from a grocery store that's co-opted and owned by somebody profiting off of health, and most of it's not even organic, it's important to note that like we just get back to the ancient ways, keep it simpler, right, as you said. And I know you're in love, I'm in love, not with each other per se.
I'm in love with you, Atomm. It's cool. In that like unconditional love sort of way that we're talking about.
Like the unconditional love as brothers. And I just want everybody to know that I am technically in love, and I know you are, with a wonderful partner. I got a chance to see your wedding, and it was just like, it just melts my heart knowing that you resonated with somebody that really got you. And not to say your first partner that I helped learn and train with, both you guys, you basically evolved. And sometimes in relationships, that's what we do, is evolve. And to see you guys at your wedding about a little over 6 months ago, was just such a, I just felt like, oh, like my kids, like I don't know, I felt this like grandfather vibe, and I really appreciate that you lean into love, and that really shows in your work.
Thank you. Well, I believe deeply that when it comes to relationships, like love-based relationships, we resonate with those that are experiencing a similar level of trauma to ourselves.
Correct.
And that might be the case when you meet somebody.
It generally
and
is.
then as you evolve, you can evolve together and
Correct.
heal traumas at a similar pace and a similar rate and continue to get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into love. Or you can grow apart from each other as one person heals faster than the other. Or one person heals in a direction that's different from the other.
That's the summary right there.
And I think that there's a lot of people that, very few people that I know get married thinking, oh my gosh, we're going to break up one day. This is going to be horrifically terrible how this ends, right? Mm-hmm. Because they're currently in love and in that alignment of a level of trauma in their life. Mm-hmm. And again, you evolve or devolve or whatever it is, and I feel very lucky and very blessed. Mm-hmm. First of all, that you're still in my life is the friendship that we have, and that we have continued to evolve and bounce in and out of each other in the most important part of our lives over the decade or two. But that I have found Stacy, and that Stacy and I now complete each other in that way. And our levels of trauma, I think, are very similar to where we are now, and we're both very much in a committed journey to heal ourselves, but to heal ourselves together. And she helps to heal me, and I help to heal her. And when I say heal, what I am saying is to bring ourselves back to who we were intended to be our most authentic selves. Because that's what's going to help us to help others.
So you're being children again, right? Without all the childish, but it's childlike. So like, sometimes somebody will cry and fall down, and then the other person, and you get back in the sandbox and you play again. So I see you guys as very great sandbox mates.
Right.
And fortunately, I've gone through a series of experiences with other women's in my life, and now the one that felt like the deepest friendship and like the most like time melts away and it just feels like magical. 24 years later, I got a chance to visit her, Marife. Very amazing woman, and just to basically say, well, I'm not with a partner, you're not with a partner, and this is us to like where we are at now. And so a lot of those parts that we recognized, which is kind of different than your story, because we known each other for so long, and then we're like, oh, well, what's up? And then it was like, oh, wow. Like, not like, why wasn't I willing to receive you for this long? But it's like we had these different journeys to learn these lessons and to move through those traumas. And now we have the ability to have cleared a lot of traumas, but now I can trust this person will be able to evolve and has an emotional intelligence and resilience that it's not going to be, that's a worthwhile investment.
Yeah. I mean, how many couples do you know that you say, if we met 10 years previous, we would have never dated each other? You know, if we met at a different time in our lives, we would have hated each other, you know?
Right.
And ironically, my wife Stacy and I, we did meet 15 years ago, right?
Oh, okay.
That's a whole other story we're not going to get into, but I was married to somebody else. We just like became acquaintances. We worked at a place together.
Got
it. That we lost touch. And then when I got divorced and was dating, we literally just ran into each other in Target. Which, by the way, the ratio, if anybody's dating out there, if anyone's dating out there, gentlemen, if you're looking for a woman, if you're looking for a woman, go to Target. There are more women in Target than men. And some of them are single, apparently, and I found one there. So,
yeah, okay.
And it changed my life
that.
just as much as it did when I met you at BNI that day.
Oh, right, yeah, BNI. That was great. You know, God, this is such an amazing life. It's like to be able to have the fortune to have these different experiences. I would like to really encourage those to just step out of the comfort zone. Or there's that voice in your head that might say, you know what, maybe you should go left here, or maybe just chill out here and have a tea or something.
You don't mean politically left. You mean just go a different direction from the one you're going.
I don't do politics.
I'm just pointing that out.
I even one tick, monotick. I don't want polytick.
Like we're surrounded by crystals right here, so I feel like
I don't even want one tick.
When you say left,
poly.
It's so funny.
No, turn that direction, and then you might sit in a cafe going, wow, I normally am not here. And like, do go out and sometimes just go a different direction to get to where you need to be, because you're like, all the neuroplasticity of the brain, and we were just talking earlier that you had ran, and you're like, oh my God, I'm doing this to my legs a week later. And it's like, well, your body didn't need those particular pathways, so it like shut the neurokinesiological.
Yeah, I hadn't done a good run for 2 years. I've just been doing a lot of other exercise. It's been helping me in lots of different ways, but I got back into running, and I did a 3-mile run on my first day out. And,
but what it did was say, dude, we just threw some firings, you got the pathways all cleared up, and it sucks for right now, but I promise you run tomorrow, today.
But I have a choice. I can take that intense pain and soreness that I went through for that week after running and go, wow, this is my body hurts, I'm not doing this anymore. Or I can say, you know what, I need to keep doing more of this. Maybe not 3 miles every time, but maybe a mile.
Thanks again, brother. This is definitely great, and I'm glad to have a conversation about some level of actionable steps that got a chance to experience in our lives. Maybe look back and say, wow. But then again, it's like look back going, I feel brand new again. You know, like all these are textures to us being able to have a really amazing dynamic life, which includes putting people around us or having people around us that are exciting, positive, dynamic, proactive, givers. You know, people that actually like do the dishes and sing a song rather than like, you know, and maybe some dishes ain't all people's stuff, but like showing up the best way we can and gamifying it and having fun with it.
Last thing I'll share is, you know, I think a big change for me is waking up in the morning, and the very first thought I have every day is a positive thought. I think a lot of us wake up, hear that alarm, it goes off, and it's like, oh man, I gotta go to work today, or oh, I gotta do this now, and oh, I'm back. There are people that didn't have that opportunity to wake up that day. And I think about that often, that I have another day. I've got more time to enjoy this heaven that we are living in. And when I wake up first thing in the morning, every day I look at the beautiful woman next to me, and I know that my kids are safe and that they're happy. And I have something coming up soon that's going to be a positive experience. You know, and even if it's something that I'm not looking forward to necessarily, I am still grateful that I get to have that experience. And the first thought I try to have every day is a positive waking moment.
Wow, that's amazing, man. Yeah, I'm going to just marinate in that. I appreciate you so much, brother.
Thank you for the time. I'm giving you a hug.
Yeah.
We'll be off camera, but it's good.
That's okay, man. This is how we do it.
Thank you, man.
All right. Love you guys.
Thank you all for watching.